Listen to people who have achieved what you want to achieve and who have been where you are now. The other thing, I don't say this for my ego. I honestly, guys, I'm 36 years old. Caring about what other people think is something that I left behind in my 20s. Sometimes I debated if I should mention this or not, but because I want to show you guys that I'm a credible source to listen to, especially when it comes to business and finance and that kind of thing. If your goal is to become a millionaire, and maybe we're defining that by just your net worth, that is a goal that I achieved in my late 20s. So that's something that between real estate, building businesses, reading books, building skills, having the end in mind and a plan, I was able to achieve. And so if that's part of who you want to be and what you want to do, maybe I'm a good person to listen to. As hard as I work, a 12-hour workday, part of that is morning routines. Mental health is very, very important. I've owned a lot of businesses and not all of them were pretty or great the entire time. Even prior to COVID, I went through some pretty hard times and some dark days. And as a result of that, I've learned that work-life balance is important. I've learned that having a morning routine, which by the way, I'm going to make some book recommendations, depending on where you are in life, will dictate when and if you should read these books. But The Miracle Morning was one that really helped me. That book kind of gives a framework of how to create a routine that works for you. And for me, that means I start my day with meditation, with affirmations. I do prayer, I do reading. And that also goes into, as you might see around my office, I have dream boards, I have goals, I have plans, because it's very important to me, very similar to the point of doing affirmations, that my big picture goals are in mind and that I have roadmaps and ideas to keep you going. Because guys, motivation is not something that's going to be there every day. But when you start your day with a routine or the right things, it's very motivating. Reading is very important to me as well, because not only am I gaining skills and knowledge through the books I'm reading, it also really starts your day in a way where not only is there optimism, but seeing the positive growth and having a really good mindset, especially if you're a business owner and you're otherwise stressed and that kind of a thing. So that's a big, big part of it. Definitely recommend, if you can, maybe it's half an hour every day, maybe it's half an hour every other day, maybe it's an hour once a week, but reading, especially if you can start your day with it, can help you build and learn skills, but start your mind in a great place. If you start, I'm not gonna lie, during COVID, times were not so good. I live in Washington State. My two businesses at the time were shut down for a month by the governor, and that sucks for a lot of reasons, and you have no power over that. And I definitely had months where I was in depression and spent a lot of time in the bed and spent all this time on my phone. If you start your day on your phone, on social media, definitely make sure it's on YouTube on Living Off the Land. But no, I'm just kidding. Take that time and put it into reading, even if it's only 20 or 30 minutes a day. I think it's very, very important. 1% compounds, which mathematically, if you grow by 1% a day, I don't know the numbers right now, but if we do that math of 1% growth every single day, it's a huge number at the end of the year. I think that, I don't know where I heard this, but most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. And if you take that concept and this 1% compounding growth and apply that not to a year but 10 years, you would be incredibly impressed in what you can accomplish. The other book that I've read recently is The Subtle Art of How Not to Give an F. And one of the takeaways that I took from that is we define what winning and losing is. Sometimes everyone else looks at society and we have all this pressure. Maybe you have parents or there's certain cultures or societies where they have all this external pressure. But if you define your success in certain ways, like for me, if I do my physical health routine, I do my meditations, I do all that stuff, I put in my hard day's work, I do everything that's on my checklist, that means I win that day. And I can't lose if I look at life that way. So maybe adopt that mentality as well. Now, lastly, I don't want to make you guys feel like you have to work 12 hours a day, break your back, do all this stuff. I know there's certain gurus out there that say that. Maybe they're right. Maybe they get ahead by doing that. It's not my style. When I say I work 12 hours a day, like I said, I have a good 4 hours dedicated to health for physical, mental growth, reading in the mornings. And that might seem excessive, but for me, physical health is extremely important. It helps me with my mental health, it helps me with my physical pain, and it also helps me, as being someone who is self-reliant, In a perfect world, when I go up to the mountains, I'd have someone else with me. I'd always have 2 snowmobiles with someone else. I'd always have a partner. That's just not realistic for me. I go up on Fridays and Saturdays. Most people that I know could not do the same schedule. So I'm almost 100% by myself when I go up there. So being physically strong is important. You tip your snowmobile over, which happens all the time. I mean, we get 4 feet of powder up there this time of year. By the way, in a couple weeks, next week I'll be up there. So in a couple weeks, you'll see a video coming out on that. You need to physically be able to take care of it. When I crashed my snowmobile, I had to hike myself out. I needed to make sure I had the cardio. That property's at 3,000 feet. Getting to the cabin was not an easy trek. That's also why, if you guys look at my off-road gears, having snowshoes is really important, because otherwise I would not have gotten out of there, because that's like 4 feet of snow and it's very soft because that's 3,000 feet of elevation. So anyway, when it comes to work-life balance, there's another analogy or story that I love to tell. So let me share that with you today as well. It's the story of the lumberjack. And so the whole story goes, there are 2 lumberjacks. There's this one guy who he works 10 hours a day. He's just works his butt off. He's always working hard, laboring, and he does his work. He gets his quota working hard, right? And there's this other guy that he sees every day. And this guy comes in, an hour later. He's there doing the work. He hits his quota, and he's done 2 hours earlier. After seeing this for a couple of weeks, that guy that's working 10 hours a day and is working his butt off is like, you know what, man, I just got to ask you, you come in later than me, you leave earlier than me, you're doing the same amount of work. How do you do that? And that guy says, well, when I'm not here, for one thing, that hour before I get here, I'm sharpening my axe. And when I sharpen my axe every day, it's more efficient, and I'm getting more work done for every swing that I make. Kind of like reading books. He's like, the other thing that I'm doing is I'm eating a big meal. I'm getting, a big breakfast while you're out here working. I'm cooking and making up everything that's protein and energy. And so that when I'm out here, I can be more effective that way as well. And, honestly, I think I'm forgetting a thing or two of that story. But the point is that work-life balance is not just about like mental health and that kind of thing. It's being more effective with the time that you're working. I'd much, much rather work 4 hours of office work or physical work in a day and being 125% more efficient than working twice the hours, or what the case may be. So keep that in mind when it comes to work-life balance, when it comes to defending that time for things like reading, mental health work, going to the gym. Again, those are my exact examples. Hopefully you can take these and extract them into your own personal experience in life. So when I talk about affirmations, dream building, or just starting with the end in mind and having those things top of mind, let me be a little more transparent and show you guys what I mean. I'm going to give you a quick little tour of my office. Please be gentle. This is my personal, very vulnerable space, and I've never shown anyone else this stuff, so this is between you and me. Firstly, having a dream board. I'm not going to go into the details of this. Some of it's a little outdated, but there are things that I look at that inspire me. There are things that I, aspire to achieve, or just help me visually if I'm, just glancing over while I'm working at my desk, keeping these big picture things in mind, and it definitely helps with motivation. Obviously, I keep my books here, not just a nice background, but also something that I can keep in mind when I see them, the concepts that they produce. Every morning I start off where I have a certain goals, I have certain flow charts, I have certain imagery I like to keep in my mind. And again, a lot of those things are based on starting with the end in mind. You will not achieve your goals if you don't know what the end is going to look like. It's like reverse engineering, which, by the way, the other thing I didn't mention is my formal bachelor's degree is in engineering. It is something that gave me an incredible skill set. I'm very, very happy that I graduated with that degree, but I also started working for a company called Student Painters when I was in college, and Student Painters is how I learned how to run a business. It's how I fell in love with entrepreneurship and learned the value of working your butt off early to build a team and systems that you can then leverage to have passive income, or semi-passive income, as I'd probably more accurately describe it, where you're utilizing other people's time and you can spend yours working on your bigger picture missions. I have other things that have to do with the sports teams that I love. There's my Student Painter memorabilia, more vision boards, and my meditation area. Obviously, bookshelves. And if you guys don't believe me, I am an award-winning salesman, broker, and real estate investor. I actually take a lot of pride in these because these were from a note conference where they literally only handed out 3 awards at this national note conference. I was by far the youngest person in the room of about 250 people, and I won 2 out of 3 awards. I don't say that for my ego. I don't say that to impress you. I say that so you guys know I'm a credible person to listen to and build my credibility, because again, listen to people who have been where you are and who have achieved what you want to achieve. My mission is self-reliance through sustainable living, and we're here to build a community. Click here to subscribe to be sure to get more awesome content for living off the land. And be sure to go in to enter for notifications. Click that bell, get notifications, and stay in tune. Subscribe, watch, and comment. Let's build a community. See you soon.